BMW and Mercedes have officially launched updates to two of its flagship markets, with BMW releasing a refresh to its entire 5 Series range and Mercedes rolling out more than just a few touch-ups for its entire fleet. Now what's important here is that there just aren't two other cars made by two independent manufacturers that go toe-to-toe like the E-Class and the 5 Series does. Now you could argue that the Golf GTI and the two lesser trims of the Audi A3 share a closer battle for the number one hatchback, but heck, it's a near artificial competition with one, the cars being loosely based off the same blueprints, and two, the fact that VW actually own Audi. Now you can see what I'm getting at here. But for the battle of the saloon market, there just doesn't seem to be a richer history than what there is between the Beamer and the Benz. Hi, this is Sami and welcome to my brand new channel Vulcan Motorsport, an all in-depth car review and autosport journal for the world's premier racing series. Today I'll be taking you guys through the next phase of an important saloon rivalry and why these facelifts play an important role looking ahead into the next decade. To begin, let's talk updates. The new 5 Series is the culmination of the company following a revised EU regulation for lower carbon emissions and a reduced noise pollution, all while trying its absolute best in listening to its consumers. Now BMW have made it absolutely clear that they will not reintroduce its V10 engine from its 5th generation models, so that distant utopia can be forgotten and left in the dust. Instead, the German manufacturer has focused on bringing further updates to arguably the most advanced infotainment system in the entire industry, along with some other important features as well. Let's discuss them. For one, the iconic brand representing Kidney Grille has grown once again, and they've kept it more conservative than what can be said about its brothers, the X3, the X5, and the incoming 4 Series. Now, I for one appreciate the direction in which BMW chooses its entire design language, although I can understand why it may look off-putting at first. But once you've overcome the anxieties for the grille, you'll come to the startling realization that the front of the car actually looks quite good in comparison to the non-facelift version. Now the air intakes, although not entirely functional for the engine purposes, instead working to redirect air a bit more cleanly around the vehicle, have become significantly more pronounced. The front splitter looks that tad bit more aggressive, and the newly reshaped headlights, which come optional for the laser light package, liken this 5 Series to the much more classier 7 Series that was announced several months back. The side profile remains near enough unchanged with the infamous Hofmeister kink and slightly deeper angles on the fenders. And as for the rear of the car, BMW have added dark accents to its lights as a standard, which again extenuate its meaner design language. Now let's not forget of course that this wouldn't be a BMW without the optional M Sport upgrades, which in recent editions have done wonders for the entire fleet, going from the entry-level 1 Series right up to the 7, and with the X and the I Series thrown in for good measure. For the first time, I actually feel like BMW have made their best take on a saloon in the past decade. Enter Mercedes. For many, the Mercedes brand screams luxury and power from every aspect and for all its glory. They redefined what was possible for a mid-sized saloon by installing ridiculously powerful engines into seemingly smaller spaces, a move that BMW themselves said wouldn't work. Now adding a combination of this aggression from the rear-wheeled powertrain along with all the pops and crackles from its wide exhausts, and you make something truly, and I mean truly remarkable. A car stitched together like this closer resembles a 6-figure price tag than it does a 50 grand family car. Now comfort and class is what Daimler would say, and I couldn't agree more. And while I could delve into the finer details on the exact updates, I think I'll explore a different angle here. This is the E-Class. Let's set a backdrop. Mercedes offers a few saloons, and if we can liken the larger S-Class to BMW's 7 Series, then we can certainly come to an agreement that the E-Class will go against the 5 Series. With that being said, Mercedes offers a slightly smaller range of vehicles within its class, with the range-topping E63 taking rivalry towards the extremely rapid M5. But where BMW have always left a sizable separation between the regular entry levels such as the popular 530D to its flagship M5, Mercedes have actually gone in the opposite direction and have decided to close the gap between its models, meaning that you can benefit from a very aggressive AMG design language without having to break the bank. Now this comes as a double-edged sword for many E63 owners as they want to feel somewhat rewarded and in a league of their own with their purchase. And yes, in recent editions Mercedes have fallen scrutiny for their widening criteria for cars which can bolster the AMG badge. On one hand, more consumers felt the novelty of owning a vehicle special enough to be classed so highly. On the second hand, owning an AMG became just a novelty at most. Now one such car that felt such skepticism was the E53 and the entire E-Class for that matter. The argument was that Mercedes were losing its sense of rarity every time an AMG badge was welded onto more and more of their lineup, meaning a seemingly undeserving car, and I use quotation marks here, may have no business in this category at all. But with this new facelifted version and with its panorama grille, it speaks volumes and levels above its predecessor. The coupe resembles the new CLS, of which very closely resembles the spearhead of them all, the AMG GT. Then there is the new direction the company as a whole is going at. For nearly a decade now, Mercedes have branched into the hybrid and electric segment, with a lot of the development from this new technology trickling down from their record-breaking Formula 1 team. As for the facelift E-Class, Mercedes have produced a very economical hybrid saloon for its consumers. Now it's fair to say that other manufacturers, including BMW, have also made big leaps in this area too, so I won't be dismissing that aspect. BMW offer an already stunning 530e, which is personally my favourite all-round BM of the lot, and this has its next generation with extended battery performance, as well as a second model being released alongside the 545e. Now if plug-in hybrids aren't your taste, then why not the pure electric saloon? Well, we're still some time away from that, but fear not, there are two very advanced electrification programs run by both Mercedes and BMW, almost as if it's a deliberate nod towards each other from two of the world's leading car brands. So, where does this leave us? Well, for one, if you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I do hope the content has given light on a refreshing perspective on the saloon war. But I also want to semi-ask the question and also answer it too. If I was in the market with 50 grand to spend on a performance-orientated family car, which of the models would I choose? Now, I had to think carefully about how to answer this question and had to weigh up all of the pros and all of the cons of each of them, as there is very little on paper that makes one reasonably stand out from the other. My conclusion is that I'd probably tend towards the E-Class at this stage. There's no denying that both cars would share similar stats and figures, but I feel as though the E53 offers a very appetizing design and one which has a real stance on the road, all while being reasonably priced. And I really can't ignore that reshaped grille, which fundamentally isn't as visually consistent throughout all of Mercedes' range as opposed to the brand-defining kidney grille. And while I understand that looks aren't everything, I just can't help but nudge towards the AMG, and that's another point worth mentioning. I want you to consider for a second what characteristic or underlying significance the car holds, and now I want you to consider the E-Classes.